Welcome to Culture on Tap. We are a podcast that is about bridging the cultural gap one conversation at a time. We have myself, Xavier Bright. We have Dale Young that's next to me. And then we have the man behind the camera, Range Armentar. Please, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share on anywhere you listen or you watch podcasts. Make sure to hit the bell so that you get the notifications whenever we have new content so that you can tap in with us.
Yes, please subscribe to everything we're doing. We will appreciate you. Fun facts with Range time.
Fun facts with Range.
We have another one. You knew this, but most of our people knew this. We've talked about that Range grew up. He grew up normal, but we think he should be like he grew up in a bomb shelter.
Yes.
Range
Blast from the past.
thought that the royal family, like in England, was a fictitious thing.
That's where we're going today.
Well, am I lying? Am I telling the truth?
No, you are telling the truth.
Yes.
Yes.
That when Queen Elizabeth, I should have said, do you know what the Queen's name was?
No.
Let's do this. What famous queen in the 90s, actually she wasn't the queen, princess died. Car accident. But they think it was sabotage.
Y'all are extremely specific about this.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's one answer.
I have no idea.
Give a guess. Princess. You got the first part right.
Princess Susan.
So there you have it, folks. He does not know who Princess Diane. You never heard Diane?
Diane.
There is a Princess
Diane.
Susan in Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah, there is.
So-
Didn't know that one either.
You don't know Princess Diane? You never heard of Princess Diane?
No.
Princess Diana.
Okay, Princess Diana. Okay, so when Queen Elizabeth died, we were talking about it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Range, you thought we were just making stuff up to try to get you to believe something that wasn't true.
Yeah.
You
I
thought royal
Talking about a
families was
TV show.
Like I did not realize that currently royal families were
a thing.
a thing.
You thought it was just like fictitious.
No, like I figured back in the day there was
Medieval time.
yeah, medieval times
Yeah.
for sure. There was, sorts of that, but
So sorts of that. So what did you think other countries had like now?
I didn't think about it.
Oh, he didn't think about it.
He's from Iowa, Louisiana.
He didn't think about it.
He didn't think about it.
He didn't know. I guess they, whatever they have is what they have. Ain't my business.
Yeah.
So there you go. Fun fact with Range.
Wow.
Royal families.
Well, what we're going to talk about today pretty much doesn't have anything to do with that. But
if he was, and he is on social media.
he is on social
So
media.
he should know.
Yeah.
He should know.
Something that I have like a love-hate relationship with.
Yeah.
Social media.
This could be our first
Disagreement,
yeah.
but different approaches.
Yeah, I think we agree on social media. We just have different approaches to how to approach social media.
Yeah.
Some of it's self-inflicted. Some of it's no. We don't have a choice because
Right.
of our lifestyles.
Absolutely. So, what's your initial thought whenever you hear the phrase social media?
So this would be my answer. And when I say this, you're going to go interesting, and then I'm going to have to explain.
Okay.
I feel like when I hear social media, I feel like it is a silent villain.
Yeah, you got to explain that.
So I think social media in itself is whatever we make it. And I think, as a believer, it should bring glory to God.
Yeah.
In whatever facet that is. For me, as we've talked about, my wife's business runs through social media.
Right.
This runs through social media.
Yeah.
So there's a lot
Yeah.
that we do that financially that does that. However, I also think that just the way we approach social media. But I think that because a lot of Christians, a lot of people use social media to say things, now social media is the villain when really you're the villain.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have its own pulse. It doesn't have emotions.
Yeah.
You being like social media isn't ugly and a jerk. You are like,
Yeah.
that was hard in the paint, but that's where I'm at. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's good. That's good.
Initial thoughts, social media.
Surprisingly, well, maybe not. Not surprising.
I'm not going to be surprised.
But all the things that come to mind initially is like negative. for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I think of just words that I think of: disconnected,
Hmm.
keyboard thugs,
Oh, I like it.
and even though there's a negative connotation to it, it's crack for introverts.
I would agree with that too.
You mean to tell me that I can say something
And that,
and not have
Yeah, yeah.
conversation? Like that? Genius. Like, but also, Lord help me, that there's a block button, there's an unfriend button, there's a mute button.
yeah.
So like,
And I would say it's genius for both, because from an extrovert, you mean to tell me I can tally up friends and win, like have more friends than you,
yeah,
have people respond, like, heart, like
Yeah.
it is crack for both in
Yeah.
different ways,
Right.
In absolutely different ways,
right. But that, I feel as though all of that, at least for me in my experience, and just watching the landscape of my area of influence, it translates over into real life.
Yeah, I can
where
see
a
that.
disconnect
I agree.
happens and people really don't know how to engage
No, and
one another.
let me be clear. It doesn't have its own pulse. However, the creators of it know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like the more drama there is, the more time you spend on it, the better for them.
That's another word that comes to mind. Drama. Go
Drama.
ahead.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of drama.
Yeah.
And the reality is, honestly, the more time you spend on it, the less time you're spending in community.
Yeah.
Because now we've decided that you can do community through that.
Yep.
In fact, you have community groups on social media.
You have churches going live and people talking about that. This is my church.
Right.
Ain't been there in
Yeah.
2 years.
Ain't never walked through the actual doors of the church, but you.
Yeah.
And again, I think for us, if we're being honest, if it wasn't for that, our church plant would have folded.
Yeah.
Because we started right before COVID, and because of that, we were able to keep going. But even me and you have agreed, the nice part of that was it was hard to come back.
Absolutely.
Because I get to get up late and drink my coffee and watch a message
In my underwear.
in my underwear. Yeah.
It was beautiful. So I think how has social media changed over the course of your lifetime?
So when we first thought about this, I was talking to you on the phone about this actual question. One of my children walked by and they asked, "Has it always been so addicting?" And I was like, "No." And then I thought about it. I'm like, yeah. Like I remember when I got a pager. Did you have a pager?
I never had a pager, but my brothers did.
I had a pager. Range, did you have a pager?
I did not have a pager.
I don't
but
know why I
my
asked that.
mom had one, and I would carry it every now and then.
Oh, to be cool. I did that. I
was
did that
cool.
before I got my first pager. Like I'd carry my parents' pager around because it was cool.
Yeah.
But I remember having a pager, and even the addiction of that of wanting people to page you and wanting the recognition that you reached out to me, even though I've now got to go find a phone and call you back.
Feeling important.
Like it was
Wanted.
already there in the basic way of social media there is.
Yeah.
But even from electronic, like, I went through that phase, and then, you got the bag phone in the car, and which is a great question. Where, if you're listening, where did electronic social media enter your life? Because I remember chat rooms on the internet, even though my parents did not allow me when the internet, when the dial-up
Right.
started, I didn't get to be on those. But I would say I really got hooked in to social media with MySpace. I can remember spending countless hours creating what I thought was the coolest MySpace page ever.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning for me. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been there for pretty much the whole wave. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Dale said, please leave a comment and where did your origin of social media begin? I would say for me, I was never into it like other people were. Like my cousins and my friends, they had MySpace. So I would literally just sit behind them and watch them scroll or
Right.
do their little pages.
Because you couldn't, or you just didn't want to.
I just didn't want to.
Okay.
Like I literally, I'm like, I can be outside at this point. I was like, I could be outside playing basketball, or I could be doing this, or I could be doing that. I do remember, I wonder if Lauren remembers this. So there was a time when we broke up, and she put on her page, on her MySpace page, it was the Beyonce song, Irreplaceable. It was great.
Yes, you did.
It wasn't great for me. I felt like, oh,
Yeah.
do this, but it was a song for me, and it was a big deal amongst my friends. They was like, oh yeah, Lauren changed her song to this or whatever. But it was even though I wasn't on it, it was still engulfing for me, because it was like I'm keeping up with
Right.
all of these people vicariously through my friends or my cousins. I didn't get on social media until it was October of 2012. And the only reason was because I moved to Springfield, Missouri, and I wanted to keep up with my family.
Okay. So,
That was it.
talking about breakups, I remember when me and Michelle broke up, and she switched her Facebook page from in a relationship to single, and I was appalled. Even though I broke up with her, like I didn't feel like we were there yet. It was too soon. It was too soon. It was too soon. Too soon for me. But
Yeah. So I got on Twitter in 2012, and then I didn't get a Facebook until 2015, 2016, around there.
So you did Twitter first.
I did Twitter first.
See,
and those are my only two. I don't do Instagram. I can't keep up with all of them. First off, I'm barely getting used to using the other two.
I feel like if you can work Twitter, the rest of them are easy. I'm not good with Twitter. Like I can't.
Yeah, Twitter is just a worldwide text message, basically.
Yeah, it confuses me. Like I'm on it, but I'm not on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I check it like maybe once a month. I'm my two go-tos would be Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
I have recently got on TikTok, but I'm not real sure how that works either.
Yeah.
I heart a lot of people, like I heart videos because they're people I know, and I'm just trying to, like, I want you to heart my video, which I don't make any videos, so like I'll heart your video.
Yeah. Yeah. So we
Did you know Culture on Tap is on TikTok too? You didn't even probably know that, did you?
I didn't know that.
Like, yeah, well, we are.
Great.
We are.
Great.
We're actually on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram.
There you
Oh
go.
wow, we ain't on Twitter.
And I don't know.
We ain't on Twitter.
So that's the crazy thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump in.
Go for it.
I started with MySpace. I had
Pause. He is the most social media savvy,
Yes.
which
for
is
sure.
shocking. But go ahead.
which is it. Yeah, absolutely, it's shocking. And it's crazy, and that just kind of feeds into our dynamic of a friend group.
Mm-hmm.
But so I started with MySpace. Absolutely had the best MySpace profile out there.
Everybody thinks so.
Yeah, for sure. But I've never been able to like get onto Twitter. Like I had one at one time.
It's confusing to me.
I just don't understand it. I don't know.
Great.
So yes, Culture on Tap does not have a Twitter, but
That's
we do
fine.
have a Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and a YouTube channel.
And so we're clear. Besides you running all of those,
Yes,
you actually put out videos on most of these
on my own.
and are a surface level influencer now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like he's not making millions, but you
No.
actually got paid some money,
Yes.
right?
Yes. So
I mean,
Beautiful.
yeah,
yeah,
like
for sure.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
Like,
it's kind of cool. Like a couple of cents
yeah. Hey,
is what it was,
Hey,
but
you
it's
making
still,
more.
I mean, it's still
Something.
it's
he makes
something.
some
It's pretty
like
neat.
if you should get on TikTok, like I will give him, because they're on. I don't find them as much on Facebook, but on your Instagram and your TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
He made one last week where it was like, because there's a lot of it's having to do with the work tractors and
Right,
stuff.
yeah, with work and stuff.
And he did like this claw, but it was the voices of the aliens from Toy Story going, the claw. Like it was really
It was-
good.
it was
I
really
was like,
good.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
that was
it.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean, with all that being said, we all use social media differently. We all
100%.
have different approaches. And there's positive. I mean, we kind of talked about positives and negatives, but
Well, first, how many hours a day do you think you spend on social media?
say more minutes.
Minutes.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
not
No
hours,
judgment. Yeah.
guy. Throughout the day, maybe 20 to 30 minutes. And that's because we have a Disney trip coming up, so I answer those questions.
That's
I scroll a
and
little
honestly,
bit.
if we didn't have one, you might not get on at all.
For sure. That's the only reason why I got back on, really,
Hmm.
because I was off for a while. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Which we'll get into that.
yes, for sure.
What about you, Rains? How much time a day? No judgment. Just
No, yeah, for sure, no judgment.
And you're an influencer. So.
Right. So I actually, before we started, whenever we started ramping up to record and post these videos and stuff, I backed off because I knew I was going to be on a lot more.
good for you. No, I mean that's good. Like
No, because I knew
That
it was going to
sounds like
be
patronizing.
no,
but
it really.
good for you.
If it sounded like it wasn't my intent.
right. No, for sure. But
Because I know this has been a struggle in the past. That's
Right.
Let me rephrase. I said good for you because I know you have verbalized to me before that you can get in the rabbit hole
absolutely
in an unhealthy way.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I try to limit it as much as possible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, all in all, you encompass quote unquote working and scrolling.
Yeah.
I would say probably 2 to 3 hours.
Oh wow, I'm way worse than that. So I would say, which my wife's business runs
Right.
through social media, trying to keep up with this, and I do get. I'm a bored social media person. Like I don't set out time to be on social media. However, because I do look for her posts to be able to like and
Right,
share
right,
stuff
right.
like that, I do get on a good bit. So I would say at least 5 to 6 hours a day, probably, if I had to guess, for sure. But I'm also, so the negative side for me is, I have to be careful with YouTube because I will rabbit that joker, like rabbit hole, like start out with a very clear purpose. Like I'm going to watch this one video, and next thing I know, 4 hours later.
How tall was Jesus?
Yeah.
Watching
Watch them use a slingshot to shoot squirrels. Like and I'm literally thinking, how did I get here? But I need to know.
Yeah.
Like I got to know how this
Yeah.
ends. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah.
So I personally take breaks frequently from social media for my sanity.
Okay.
If I'm honest, because the politics, posts about politics, just really, really get on my nerves. And I follow a lot of fitness influencers. So a lot of times they have half naked women in their videos or stuff like that. And so for my mental health, really, like I take frequent breaks because and another thing, comparing. Like a lot of times we post things on social media that's just not reality. Or we're posting all of the good things, but we ain't posting whenever we get into a fight with somebody. But like it's just not reality, so it's easy to compare this person's life with mine, and I'm comparing because I feel as though that their life is better than mine or whatever. It's just like for me, I have to take heavy doses of getting off for the sake of just being able to function outside of it. And Lauren does the same thing. The funny thing with Lauren though is like she'll get off. I didn't know she got off. She just deletes it. And I'm like, hey, did you see this? And she's like, oh no, I'm off. I'm like,
Oh no.
how long have you been off?
She's
2 weeks.
She's done that to me quite a few times.
Or I just I posted something like 2 months ago,
Right.
and then she gets back on and she loves it, and I'm like, it's just like she just gets on and off whenever. But for me, for my sanity, I've got to take frequent breaks because of all of those things. Like I just can't do it.
So my approach, is more of, I don't get off a lot because of my wife's
Right.
business.
Which makes sense.
Yes. I don't get off. I try to be a 3-strike rule kind of guy. And you might be watching this going like, oh, I must be one that got the 3 strikes. And let me be really clear. I'm not telling you how to do your social media. I am telling you, for me to love you well in my shortcomings, this is what I have to do. So I feel like if there's 3 posts that just bother me to the point where I'm struggling at seeing you the same, you're probably getting unfollowed.
Yeah.
So I unfollow quite often, or hide. Like, I don't always unfollow, but just, or maybe it's, I block them, I guess.
So there's a difference between
I don't know.
unfollow, unfriend,
They're
and
not unfriend.
block.
Like, a lot of them are still, I guess, there's
Still
some that I'm
friends.
unfriend because I'm like, oh wow, that was I don't want to be associated with that post.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be connected to that.
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
very rare. But most of them I just don't see what they post. So what
Right.
is
So
that?
you just unfollowed.
Yeah, I just unfollow. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get that. What are some positives that you feel?
Let me ask this question before we go to the positives. From your stance, because you just get off, do we feel like, our last episode we talked about racism,
Yeah.
and tackling tough conversations. If people that have a good perspective on what should be happening on social media, if we get off, who's there to help?
I mean, I get what you're saying, but most of the time, like if it's in my area of influence, like our conversations aren't happening over social media.
That's which is true.
Like I don't,
and I would agree with you. You're not changing
Like-
anybody's mind on social media.
no, like, and it's the only time I leave comments is really on something like a birthday, or, if somebody asks a funny question or something, or
Right.
I don't get on social media to try to change anybody's mind or heart. So my area of influence is connectivity, like proximity in the real world and not social media. So I don't.
So positive social media. I think one is it does help us be I think more culturally aware of what's going on around us.
Yes, I would agree.
I think that it allows us to see where some people are in our lives, because people are very transparent about things on social
Yes.
media. Now,
Where I
I'm
got
not
into the keyboard thugs.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that that's where you should address them, but maybe that's an area where you, when you do try to have personal engagement with them, that you are aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I do think that the social media from a positive standpoint can be used for the glory of God. Now,
For sure.
let me be really clear. I am not saying Jesus loves you, pass this on to 10 people and he's going to bless you tomorrow. Like, that's
Comment, amen.
yeah, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying when your church community revolves around the internet. And I get that there's some people in some area, and I'm not judging anyone that's way. Like, I think it's better than not being involved at all.
Right.
But I do think that that would be positives to me. And inevitably being able to engage, even if it's at a service level, people that you don't get to see anymore.
Yeah. And that's the positive for me is like connecting with people who just drifted like over the years, haven't talked to, haven't seen because they moved away or we moved away. Seeing people's lives, being encouraged by it, what's going on. Encouraging people. Like, I mean, there are times when I post something just because my posts revolve around scripture or something funny that my kids said.
Yep. Or something you read.
Or something I read.
Yeah.
or a little nugget.
Yeah.
And there's been text messages or people who just came up to me, hey, I really needed that post or something like that. So, or seeing other people post something and being encouraged by it. So those are definitely positives for me. Being able to have church during a pandemic where you're still somewhat keeping up with people, being able to be a blessing to other people, like with my posts or them with their posts is just, there are positive things for me that I actually enjoy. But for me, the negatives outweigh the positives. And that's more so why I have to take frequent breaks for my, like I said, for my sanity.
Which is different now. I mean, because we have this. Like
Yes.
as we're literally,
Yes.
because I mean, we disagree. I don't take breaks. I don't know that I disagree for you that that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I would be different if we didn't have, basically, I mean, because my wife's business is like that, we get to work from home together. It's really cool.
Right.
But now that we have this, like, hard to take breaks when we got this
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
But I do agree. The negatives. So negatives social media for you.
I think one of the things is, first off, one of the illusions of technology, namely social media, is that it sends the facade of intimacy.
I agree.
Like, one of the great paradoxes of social media is that it allows us to be connected yet profoundly disconnected at the same time.
I agree.
Don't believe me? The next time you go to a restaurant, see at the table,
Right.
mom, dad, son, daughter on their phones,
No, it is.
but having dinner together.
Yeah, no, it's there. Me and my wife, because of work, will go on a date and have to go, like, okay,
No phones.
no phone,
Or this, yeah.
because somebody will reach out about something that she's selling, and
Right,
and
right.
and you get caught up in that moment, and we have to remind ourselves sometimes, like, hey, if you worked a regular desk job, you wouldn't be answering that question right now.
Right.
So
Yeah, for sure. Like, out of all the people that I'm friends with or who follow me, 75 to 85% of them I don't really have a relationship with, or I haven't had a meaningful conversation with. Again, like, it allows us to be connected
right,
and yet profoundly
they know
disconnected.
what's going on in your life, but they really don't know your
really-
life.
They don't know me.
Yeah,
But then that translates into our real relationships to where, I mean, we see this every day with the boys who come into our program at Youth Reach. Like, they don't know how to have a conversation.
right.
And they've always got to be doing something. They can't be bored.
Yeah,
But it's okay to be bored.
yeah,
Like, it's okay to just sit in silence and not have the TV on, not have your phone, and all of these. I mean, we dealt with a boy one time, youth
Yep.
camp, couldn't be away from his phone.
literally broke down.
In tears. And it's like, that comes from social media,
Right.
not just technology, but I think namely social media, because how am I going to keep up with this person or that person and what's going on here? And it's just like, it's teaching us to be connected, yet disconnected in a way that it's like, it's portraying this facade of intimate relationship, but we don't know how to be in relationship. Because if it's not a picture, if it's not saying happy birthday, if it's not something positive,
Right.
we don't know how to function.
Right.
And that's what I'm seeing
Yeah,
at large.
and it's so funny to me because somebody will post a question or a comment that's controversial, but then if you respond opposite of what they want, don't get on my post. Like,
Right.
well, then why'd you put it out there?
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
and so so for me, negative two big ones. First would be it enforces instant gratification
Yes.
or instant disappointment.
Yes. Yes.
Either or. To the point that we will constantly check our posts. Like, I even catch myself. We've started this podcast, this YouTube channel. multiple times a day, like, ooh, how many views are we at it? Like, and like,
Yeah.
I'm like to the point where I'm like, I just need to let it go. Like, if they're going to watch it, they're going to watch it. So like it happens. The other big negative for me is, and this is towards believers, not that I don't care about non-believers here, but I expect more out of them. It's destroying our character. There are too many Christians, for me, that post things that are unnecessary on social media where I lose a level of value towards you.
Yeah.
Because it's not needed.
Right.
There are there's just too much, like, it's just not okay.
Or it could be misunderstood.
Absolutely.
Even if they didn't mean it a certain type of way, you're reading it
Right.
a certain type of way, and it's just like,
Well, and also I had this conversation the other day where they were like, their post says something like, I don't remember it was a very open-ending post, but it sounded aggressive. And then they were like, oh, it wasn't aggressive, but your background was fire. Like, everything
It was
about
aggressive.
it's aggressive.
Yeah.
Like, you can take it back now if you want. But I mean, and I'll say for a positive for me, social media has helped me stop and think. Because when I used to be, I'll say it to your face, but like the keyboard part, I would have done it. I did it 10 times more. Now I'm like, oh, you going to get this work.
yeah,
And I realized like I was hurting people,
Right.
but I'm not having to deal with the hurt.
right.
And that's the problem. So yeah,
Right.
a huge negative for me is I feel like godly men and women are crushing their character for instant gratification, or just now you can be a tough guy.
Right. Yeah, for sure. There's a MIT professor, Sherry Turkle. She wrote a book called Alone Together, and she is a known expert in the field of technology and the illusion of tech. And she says this. I'll just read the quote. She says, technology proposes itself as the architect of our intimacies. These days, it suggests substitution that put the real us on the run. The fact is, we are lonely but fearful of real intimacy. Digital connections and the social robot may put off the illusion of companionship without the demands of friendship. Our networked life allows us to hide from each other. Even as we are tethered to each other, as a whole, we'd rather text than talk.
That's good.
So you have people who feel as though, first off, they can talk any type of way to you
Right.
on
Right.
social media, but they're longing for intimacy.
Right.
They're longing for friendship, but it's like, I'll settle for a post,
Yeah. No,
or
no,
I'll
that's-
settle for a comment, or I'll settle for likes.
right.
I'll settle for little hearts or whatever the case
Right.
may be, instead of having real, true companionship. And all in all, I feel as though social media has taught us to be more antisocial.
No, I can see that in a lot of ways. Like, I feel like for me, there's so many, like, I look out there and there's people posting, like, basically saying they're alone and wanting gratification by people going, oh, I love you and I care about you.
Right.
Like, that's not helping you.
Right.
And then it also breaks my heart when people are just controversial because they find joy in watching people debate on social media and then say that they're about furthering the kingdom. Like, I don't grasp that.
Right.
Like how is that healthy for any of us? Because
Right.
no one, like, I have yet to find, and if you were out there, please comment. I have yet to find someone to go, I believe this way, and because you blasted me on social media, now I believe your way.
Yeah.
I have yet to find anyone
Right.
that's followed that model.
Right. No, for sure. But yeah, I feel as though, and that's why I approach it the way that I do, but I feel as though we're becoming more antisocial. And for an introvert to say that, just saying,
Yeah.
like, for an introvert saying that we need more connectedness,
Yeah.
face-to-face conversation, living life together, touching,
Yeah.
for an introvert to say that, oh, please.
Yeah. No, that's good.
It ain't too good.
No.
One thing, I mean, because obviously we have different approaches. One thing to leave our culture on Tapians.
Yeah.
I did there. one thing to leave with them from your approach?
For them to tap in on.
Yeah.
So I would say whether you're someone that gets on for 5 minutes a week or you're on 5 hours a day, and I'm speaking solely to believers. If you are controversial on social media, it is not bringing glory to God. I do believe that we can use social media to bring God glory. And I want to be really clear what I mean by that. If you have 7 posts in a week and 3 of your 7, I'm not even going to say 6 of your 7, 3 of your 7 have aggressive nature where people are debating in an ugly fashion, that you're having to delete people that are commenting, whatever, and then you want to talk on Sunday and say, hey, come to church with me. I would never want to go to church with you.
Yeah.
So don't think that your controversy leads people to the feet of Jesus, because it doesn't.
No, that's really good. The only thing that I would add is a question. What are we doing to not be connectedly disconnected when it comes to social media? Do we have real, authentic, raw connectedness with people? Or is all of our relationships kind of like social media, just wanting people to, we say something and we just want people to like and share, but not really have a connectedness
Right.
with one another.
Good stuff.
How are we fighting against the drift that is social media?
Yeah.
Because we're drifting in one direction or another.
If you want community, it is not going to be on the screen.
It's not going to happen. So I think, obviously we have different approaches. We have, all 3 of us. But I think all in all, we want to glorify God the best to our abilities, whether that's we're on 5-6 hours a day or we're on 20 minutes a day. We feel as though with our convictions and with our livelihood, we want to glorify God to the best of our abilities. So tell us your approach, in the comments, tell us, do you have the approach that Dale has, Range has, or myself? And also write in the comments why.
Yeah.
Why is that your particular approach? So on behalf of Dale, myself, and Range, this has been Culture on Tap. We will see you next time.
See you guys.
Culture on Tap is sponsored by Houston Radio Platinum, playing the best classic hits. You can download the Houston Radio Platinum app. It's in your app store, or just ask Alexa to play Houston Radio Platinum.